We are now doing the panorama of Chapter 9. And the first part of this section, well, we're really going to have to change some colors here. We're going to stitch together 6 pictures in a similar kind of a circular panorama that we did in class. And as you can see here, I'll move my cursor here. The top picture here looks pretty good. This picture down here is a bit overexposed. It's a little too bright. So what we need to do is to match our colors so that once we put this into a panorama, it will look decent going from picture to picture. Okay, so I'm going to click on this picture down here, and we're going to go to this guy over here that says Image Menu, Adjustments, Match Color. And then we need to point the source. So basically we've got our picture here, and we want to point it at the first one, which is 1441. And you can see what happens here. Just basically what's happening internal to the files on Photoshop is that each picture has its own color palette. Okay, it's like what we normally see over here in the swatches. Okay, that's a color palette. Now, the colors that are actually used, that's really the color palette. In this case, what Photoshop is doing is it looks at the color palette of this picture up here, and then it says, okay, I'll pick this pixel right over here. I want to find the closest color palette color that I can use from this palette, and it just does a pretty good job of matching. Now, reality is we could probably just go with this right now, and everything would be great. But since we've got both pictures open, we can go through here and kind of dial this in a little bit more. So, for instance, let me turn off my mask for a minute there. Okay, you'll see that this area here is still a good deal darker than where it's supposed to be attached here. So what I want to do is bring the darkness down a little bit. So we're going to reduce the luminance a little bit. I'm going to drop this to about 70. It's a lot closer. This color intensity I'm going to crank up to about 115. Makes it a little bit more intense. You could actually probably get away with leaving it at 100 and it's fine. And then the fade, and see now if you look at the skies here, they're not quite there. This one is a bit more oversaturated, so we're going to reduce this a little bit and put this up around 10 or 15. It's still a bit off, but it's a lot closer. Okay, so now we'll click OK. And I'll put my mask back on. Okay, still, not perfect, but it still looks pretty good. So we're going to save our file here. So I'll do Save, Command S, and I'm going to close these up now. The other pictures are fine. We just needed to work on that 1442. And we'll do the same procedure that we did in class. File menu, Automate, Photo Merge. And we're going to stick with Auto this time. And we'll turn on these guys. And we'll go find the pictures on my desktop. Let's see, I believe I put them on my desktop. Lesson number 9. Good to go. And I've got, I'll grab these first. Shift click. And then I'll command click on that one. And click Open. We've got our pictures there, and they're in the right order. Click OK. And it does the procedure like we did in class, where it takes a couple of minutes to make happen. And this actually goes very fast. Wow, that was incredibly fast. All right, so like we did in class, we're also going to merge these layers into one layer. Interesting, this is a little bit different. I believe it's because, well, I'm not even sure. When we did this in class, we got a background layer that made this stuff all white. And if you recall, we went to the warp tool and we got rid of all the excess space there. Now, since I learned how to do this, they've actually updated some of the tools here in Photoshop. So we're going to use the new and improved version of Chapter 9. So in this case, we're going to go to Crop, and we will get rid of all this stuff down here. So we'll just bring up the bottom right to, well, it's a little bit up much. Right about there. And in fact, I think I'm just going to cut off this little section over there because there was a little bit of negative space. There we go. Right about there. Great. Okay, I'll click OK here. Oop, it got more than, I didn't get quite that. That's okay, we'll fix that later. All right, now we will do this. We're going to go to the magic wand and just select all the negative space here. And I'll shift click over on this business here. And I guess I should click, well, I'm not really, well, let's see what happens. Let me see how far I can get. I will shift click this little stuff there. Okay, that's not bad. Command 0. Now, there's we can fill this gap. And there's a new tool inside Fill. And this is called Content Aware. And this is really amazing, actually. And what it does is it's looking to fill this space. Photoshop knows that. And what it does is it finds something nearby that it can borrow to fill in this space. Watch this. Thinks about it for a second. And boom. Incredible. Let me turn off the marching ants. Oops, sorry, that was not, didn't mean to do that. Command D, there we go. I mean, it's almost flawless. It's frightening, actually, that they could fill in like that. I mean, clearly it didn't get it quite perfect, but you know, at a glance, it's like you almost don't notice. Now, I think I see some things going on up here. Okay, pretty easy to fix. What I can do is go get the clone stamp tool, and I'll borrow some color from here. I've got to use my option key, and I'll say I'm going to borrow from here, and oh, you know what? Even better than that. Let's use this, the spot healing brush. Even better. Just paint on what needs to be filled in, and it acts like content aware. It just fills in where it sees empty space. And I'm just kind of quickly going through here and making sure it looks good. Let's see. Let's see if I do something here, what happens. It might not work. Yeah, it didn't work. That's okay. I'm not all that worried about it. If I was really worried about that one, you know what I'm going to do? Clone stamp tool. So what we'll do is I'll borrow from this. So I'm holding down the option key, and I'm drawing, picking a little bit of tree here, and I'll get a bigger brush, and there, tree. No big whoop. Okay, how did that section over here turn out? Very nice. Yeah, that's even a mystery to me how they do that content aware stuff. It's just amazing. Okay, so let's see. We've done content aware. There's one other new tool here called adaptive wide angle. And this is pretty cool. So we need to define what area is flat, which is this business right over here. We'll go from tree to tree, or from tower to tree, and say this is straight. Nice. And for instance, this is at an angle over here. So we'll draw an angle from here to here. And I'm just going to pull on this side just a little bit, and it straightens it out. Actually, I'm going to pull down this side a little bit more. Maybe push this up just a taste as well. And it should flatten out this angle. And that was a bit too much. Let's undo that. Can I undo that? Yep. Let me pull on that, but not go quite as far. Better. Much flatter. And I'll click OK. We could take that farther, but I'm still kind of wary of that tool. Let's open up the other document here. It's the DC letters. And we will do our same trick where we... Now normally, again, I show you 2 up vertical, but I'm going to do 2 up horizontal. And just grab the move tool and drag this puppy down over here. And lay this off at the side. Move this up with my arrows. Looks good. Now, similar to what we did in class, I want to flatten this. Actually, you know, the book says, let's convert this to CMYK for a print. Well, we can do that too. It's really simple. Just convert from RGB to CMYK. And then it asks, do you want to merge? Sure. And then you get a little warning here. You're about to convert to CMYK. That's totally fine. You really don't even notice a visual difference. That's fine. And for my last trick here, this isn't really part of the book, but since you're doing this for the artistic part of the thing where you're doing your own panorama, let's also do this. Let's save as, and we'll call this Panorama, and we'll just make sure it's JPEG. So Panorama JPEG, great. And we'll get this window just like we did on Mac or PC. It all works the same. So I said I'd be happy on your artwork if it was under 20 megabytes. This one is currently 7.3. That's fine. I'll click OK. Boom. It's now, well, this is the original. But there is a JPEG now on my desktop, and then that's the kind of file you would turn in. That's it.